You may.
In the blink of an eye, Dawn Francis lost everything. She worked her entire life to build her career, establish her family, and maintain her health. And in one instant, with one action, in one blink of an eye, Bobby Campbell took it all away from her. On the morning of November 30th, 2006, Billy Krause, the defendant's longtime boyfriend and the father of Max, their 2-year-old son, made a complaint to Child Protective Services. The call was directed to Dawn Francis, their caseworker. In Billy's complaint, he cited that the defendant was using drugs, leaving used needles and syringes around the house, and drinking and driving with Max in the car. Upon hearing this, Dawn knew that she had to get Max out of the house. So with a police escort, she headed to the house. Upon arriving at the house, the officer announced himself and knocked on the door, but the defendant was silent. Fearing for the child's life, the officer broke down the door, but still the house remained silent. The officer entered the home and found Max asleep unattended in the front room. Dawn Francis picked up Max, handed him to the officer, and was heading for the door. As she was heading for the door, the defendant came from the back of the house with a needle in hand. As Dawn was leaving, she felt a sharp stabbing pain in her arm as the defendant stuck it into her. Got a little mixed up there. We will show that as a result of the stabbing, Dawn Francis has suffered serious physical, psychological, and economic harm. First, we will show the extent of the physical harm. We will call Dr. Lynn Montana to testify to the diagnosis, the effects of the HIV infection, and the symptoms of the treatment. Second, to show the psychological harm, we will call Dawn Francis, who will testify to the depression that she suffered upon learning her diagnosis. She will also further testify to the extent of the physical harm, and her testimony will cover both her experiences since both the changes that she has occurred to her private life and work life as a result of the infection. Third, we will show that Dawn Francis has suffered serious economic harm. We will show that Dawn Francis is unable to perform her former duties as a Child Protective Services caseworker due to the attack upon her. We will show that she is unwilling and unable to put herself into danger again performing her former duties. As a result of this, she has been forced to take a transfer to the State Department of Commerce. This is not her area of expertise, and she has been forced to take a pay cut, and she has little opportunity for advancement. Finally, we will show that the defendant is likely to commit future crimes. To illustrate this point, we will call the defendant's probation supervisor, Sal Dritz. Sal Dritz will testify to the defendant's history of drug abuse, criminal record, and pattern of uncooperativeness while on supervised probation. The testimony will show that the defendant has received many life sentences in the past and that she has not learned her lessons from her previous crimes. We are recommending the maximum sentence of 30 years so that the defendant can be rehabilitated into a productive member of society. Dawn Francis had everything taken away from her in the blink of an eye, and being labeled a violent offender and given a lengthy sentence will make Bobby Campbell pay for it. But it's a little dicey.
You just need to let him know.
Yeah.